Odyssey here, Amir Muhammad, Prince George's County, Maryland, MC, producer, hip hop artist.
Wait, what's your story? So where are you from?
I'm from a small town called Largo in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, located in the county of Prince George's. That's like central Maryland. It's a suburb of Washington, D.C. That's where I was born and raised. I was born in the District of Columbia, raised in the suburbs of D.C. I lived there all my life and moved to New York some years ago.
Where are your people from?
My people, my father is Sudanese, and his family comes from Omdurman, which is like Brooklyn to Manhattan. You got the River Nile, and on one side is Omdurman, the other side is Khartoum, and we're from basically the Brooklyn side of the city. My mother is African American, born and raised in Washington, D.C., and her roots go from central Maryland as well, in southern Maryland, St. Mary's County. It's a very unique story. From the day the slave ships brought my family here, they docked in Maryland and were sold in Maryland and stayed, so I didn't have to go far to trace my roots. My family was still living on the land that we used to be slaves on. Where am I creatively? I'm in a very good place creatively. I've allowed myself a career where I get to make what I want when I want. I found a niche of creating music for a fan base that appreciates what I make and allows me to grow. So I'm always inspired and always willing to do new things without consequence or minimal consequence.
So what's the story behind your recent EP that just dropped?
My recent EP is titled AlWasta. AlWasta loosely translates from Arabic or colloquial Arabic to a person of social currency, like the plug, so to speak. If you have wasta in the Middle East or in Arabic-speaking countries, it means you're a person that can ask favors from people, and people will feel obliged to do those things for you because of a respect and adoration or connections or a benefit that you can serve for them. The EP got its name from the way it was conceived. The record came together in about a week and it only was able to be conceived within a week because of connections. I wrote it, recorded and produced it here in my house in Brooklyn. My graphic designer was in London. My Arabic to English translator was in Saudi Arabia. My keyboard player was in York, Pennsylvania, and within a week, the designer was able to make the cover. The English was translated into Arabic within a day or two. Everything was recorded in a day. Everything was written in a week, and it was only able to do so through having clout of connections. And that's where the title of the album came from. Just pull any one of these cards.
Just pull anyone.
All right, closest one to me. Romancing when the tragedy's done. Worse before better. This is an interesting line that you picked. Romancing when the tragedy's done. I think that there's a lot of romance in the way people view life. It's almost necessary that people need to create a fictitious story around reality in order to deal with it or to have something to look forward to. I'm a very jaded, cynical individual where through my travels, the positive side of it is I was able to see a lot of the world and the similarities and the differences, and I've discovered that there actually isn't that many differences in the way people live their lives across the world, yet people romantically view what's on the other side of the fence constantly. And that romance has been gone from me for a very, very long time. I'm just left with cold, hard reality with most aspects in life. And I think people need a level of romance to persevere through struggle. And that's where that line came from, romancing when the tragedy's done. It's almost like accepting the dream. Like I will also use the dream as a tool to cope through tragedy. And I look forward to using it, even though I'm extremely conscious that this is a romantic perception of reality. It's almost a form of coping with it. It's a coping mechanism. Without the help of warnings, your mornings repeat like alarms. This one is, I guess, a little bit more straightforward to me. It means that if you don't pay attention to the mistakes that you make in the past, you will repeat yourself. like take heed to the lessons that you learn along the way. Some of the greatest things that you can have for the future are from your mistakes. And if you pay attention to your mistakes, it will better your chances in the future for progress. But if you don't, you'll just constantly wake up perpetually repeating the same things over and over. So without the help of warnings, your mornings repeat like alarms. You have to pay attention to those warnings. Warnings are kind of like alarms in themselves, built into us to warn us, whether it's danger or bad decisions. You have this tingling sensation on the back of your neck that tells you this is not a good idea. And this song is called First Choice. It's encouraging people to listen to that gut feeling. Let's go for this one. Distractions come, I think my TV's clothed in wool, lifting shadows. I mean, it's pretty obvious we live in a society that mass media controls our perceptions on what goes on in the world. And, the wool over your eyes is a saying in English of being ignorant to things. And then clothed in wool also is a play on of a wolf in sheep's clothing. And sheep obviously is made of wool. So it's a double entendre, I guess, of meaning that the wolf is actually the one changing our perception and keeping us ignorant. We're being made ignorant by the wolf himself, which is one of the most dangerous things to be in, is that our ignorance to what's going on in the world is being dictated to by us by the very same people that are hurting us. These are good ones. You pick good ones.
In that song specifically, I wanted to kind of hear your inspiration behind that.
Lifting Shadows came from my, what year is it right now? What year is it?
2016.
2016. 2015, late 2015, I'm talking October. I was on tour in Europe during the height of the migration crisis from the Middle East, Afghanistan, East Africa, hundreds of thousands of people making their way into Europe. And we were driving through a lot of the areas where there were high concentrations of camps, in particular Calais, which is a port city where you take the ferry from France to the UK. And that's where one of the largest refugee camps are. And we witnessed that, and we were driving through parts of Germany where Germans were in secret language asking us to take refugees to Sweden because we were en route there. And if you're caught doing so, you were fined €1,500. And that person obviously would be deported or sent back to a camp. Witnessing that and then coming home to New York, as I always am, I'm pushed into a separate line where I have to go through further evaluation before I'm let back into my own country. And then half of my family being from East Africa and living somewhere within the Middle East and being Muslim, what was going on in the world resonated with me quite a lot. My father came to America in 1976, escaping civil war in the Sudan. And I could really relate to what was going on in the world.
Can't just let me be, can't just let me live. Regardless my belief, I thought the fire was.
You taught me how to help others, and through that discovered how to put myself first. That's love. This, interesting one. Through friendships, through family members, you kind of learn that when you overextend yourself to help other people, that sometimes comes to a detriment. And that when in fact trying to help people, you end up letting them down because you made promises to things that you can't keep. And then you discover that in order to sometimes help people, you have to put yourself first. Where I can't reach up with one arm to help you get where I'm at if I'm reaching with the other arm to help myself up. So it might be more advantageous for me to use both of my arms to pull myself up first before going back for someone else. But you really only learn that to look for self when you become selfless. If you're completely selfless, then you're lost within everyone else's problems. But if you're selfish, you have no concern for the world around you, which will most of the time indefinitely come back to bite you. So there's this balance of selflessness and selfishness that's, I think, necessary to be a functioning human being with a social construct, other than being a hermit or a complete asshole.
And is that something that you have, like, you just now, like, walking into, like, being famous, like, being this, like, self-proclaimed rapper? Like, is this something that you just started struggling with, or is this something that you've always, like...
No, I think from the beginning of my career, I've always, no matter what level you are in your career or in life, you are always somewhere where someone would kill to be, yet you want to be somewhere else. It's insatiable. It never ends. You know, like, there are people killing for my platform, where when you are on my platform long enough, you realize my platform is nothing. I'm not famous. The gigs that I play are nothing in comparison to what I could be playing. You can't be consumed by the what ifs. You must be grateful for what you have, but know that someone would die for what you have. And it's very difficult because people who aren't in the same category as you can't comprehend what's beyond it. And you should never expect them to, nor should you be frustrated with them for not being able to understand that what you have is actually not that much when they don't have that to begin with. So there's this level of consciousness and sensitivity that you must always have, I guess, in being grounded and knowing that even though you want more in life, there's someone that wants what you have, and never throw it in their face. You know, never not understand anybody else's problems or concerns because you're removed from them, which is something that I think is a really bad issue in our society with major corporations, people that sell ideas and tangible products to people that they're completely disconnected from, whether it be a politician or some sort of clothing or food. The people creating these things are so far removed from the people who are buying it. And I think you must maintain a level of connectivity to really understand the way the world works. These are good days for bad people, a sad sequel to a story unrated about the underrated told by the makers of the evil. That's from Ashley. You are of a negative ideology, of a right-wing focus, of being conservative and not adhering to the diversity of the world. It's a great time to be that type of person. That type of person is flourishing right now. That type of negativity has an amazing platform, more so than ever before, of being able to spread hatred and evil very, very rapidly. And yeah, that's where that line came from. These are good days for bad people.